Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. I'd say Reggie. I am your host, Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at News on Twitter. You can also find me at Roddykat on Blue Sky.
South Carolina with Columbia down the way.
Okay, I've got to figure out what the hell that's going on. And the sound effect outside of that last one you heard come from none other than our man in Brooklyn 1, Agent_7 on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky.
What's up, everybody? Every time I hear those Windows sound effects, I get the feeling like I'm at my work computer when I really don't want to be. So, what's up, y'all?
I'm just a kid from Brooklyn.
Yeah, I could turn it off, but at the same time, they could be alerting me to something that is a potential issue. So,
Sure.
although I think I do know where this was coming from, I can't really do anything about it until I switch something out. So, yep, I think I just confirmed it. I think that's my mouth fucking around.
Nice.
And now I can't. Yep, that is absolutely it. Anyway, you know what? That's beside the point. This, well, it's going to be a problem in a second, but since this is the Comic Book Chronicles, we are here to talk about, no surprise here, comic books. Okay, yeah, that's going to be a problem. I need to get, apparently either need to get a new mouse or I got a bad USB port, and that's no bueno either way.
Right.
So, but that is some tech support thing I could do on my own. Once again.
Oh, why did it end this way? I was gonna say, they have El Cheapo Bluetooth mice that you can.
I know, but I don't like Bluetooth because it gives me a headache. But also, no, I know where to get a mice. I wasn't crazy about this mouse I got anyway, but the one that I normally get is a little pricey and hard to find.
Gotcha. I mean, I'm stuck in the Apple ecosystem, right? So I still have like the old school glass Apple mouse that's not rechargeable. It's just regular batteries. Right. But in terms of like work and PC laptop side, I invested in a better Bluetooth mouse, and it's made a world of difference. Yeah. And it was like less than $20 or roughly $20.
Right. And actually, and it could very well, now I'm thinking about it, could very well be a driver issue and not necessarily a mouse issue. That's another thing I'm going to have to do, because now that I think about it, there was a Windows update not that long ago and before this started happening. So I just have to figure out which is which.
Gotta love it.
Yeah, I do and I don't. But it is what it is. And that has been that has been Tech Talk with your Comic Book Chronicles folks. Stay tuned for Nerdy Bits.
Right. I was going to say this is definitely a step behind the curtain, because in our pre-production meetings we are often talking about tech stuff. So
it's true. This is true. Believe me, if I ever got the site I want to get off the ground, that is definitely going. It's not going to probably be that, but it's definitely going to be a more nerdy / probably a little bit more tech involved podcast going up at some point.
But in terms of this show, we talk about this a lot. Like we've evolved over the course of like the nearly decade basically that we've been doing the show. That we've gone through we've each gone through multiple computers. We've each gone through multiple setups. We went through like the growing pains of multiple monitors. It's been a process, folks.
Right. Or I guess on my case, maybe not necessarily multiple computers, but the upgrading of a couple,
Right.
and or
Right.
Frankensteining of a
Right.
couple.
Exactly. I mean, in general, that's what that's what I think of. You know, when we're undergoing upgrades and we're doing like hot swaps to try to make things work better. You know.
Yeah. And all this is going to get cut out, so that's except for what YouTube sees. So that's going to be glorious for anybody coming to the audio version of this.
That's
and
funny.
what's that?
No, go ahead.
Oh, and with that, folks, we are actually, now that the situation I was trying to deal with, it seems to be subsided for now. We're going to get into our first book of the night, which is Gatchaman number 6.
Alrighty, Gatchaman number 6 is written by Cullen Bunn with art by Pasquale Qualano, colors by Rebecca Nalty, and letters by Buddy Beaudoin. This is kind of a one-off Gatchaman issue because we catch up with the Gatchaman, the Science Ninja team, on a day off. Right, they're spending time together, and what are they doing? Getting into some hijinks that should have involved food, but instead involved no food, but rather a treasure map and some hijinks that both Roddykat and I had some very ready pop culture references.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely noticed, you know, and when we were speaking about it in our pre-production meeting, I definitely noticed some callbacks or some let's say sly references to Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, and some other references that some people might say would be referencing Skeleton Crew, but we all know what the OG reference there is, and I'll pass it on to Roddykat to continue the discussion.
Right. And before I get into that, I want to say shout out to the folks in chat. Von Gloom, always here, or almost always here, because you know when he's not busy. But he says, "Son of a gun" and never on time. And one Matt Wayne 97, who is in the chat, says "Konnichiwa."
Oh, what's going on, fellas? Thanks for joining us tonight.
Yes. Some folks may know. Well, both of them are friends of the show, but one of them has been on way more and way more recent than the other.
Right.
In one Matt Wayne 97, that is. We gotta get Von Gloom back on the show one of these days. So we'll talk. Actually, now that I just thought about something, but that's some for after the show business. But as far as Gatchaman is concerned, yeah, as I have in my notes, this is the beach episode.
Good thought. Yeah, that's a good
that an anime would have. Leading into basically what Agent 70 said and the references therein. And there's also a probably very much unintentional, but side reference to a book that came out this week, that we talked about in the news last week. In the form of Fortune and Glory, which I'll mention that, but neither one of us has read it, so but we can always bring it back up again later on, I suppose, if we remember. But let's see what we got here. So we get a little bit of Junpei backstory in the course of this story that's being told, because he is the catalyst for this whole thing popping off after all. And, we still get a little bit of Galactor shenanigans, but in a different form. Actually, in a different and probably just as right form that they show up in here during the course of this story, which was like, yeah, that all plays, that all tracks. So it was a pretty fun issue. I'm assuming one done, because I don't think there was anything in here that probably was going to come up again, or maybe there is. Who's to say? It could have been the start of something. It seemed like it could have gone that way anyway.
Right. One of the cool aspects of this is, one, they're basically using Jinpei's untransformed vehicle as their vehicle to get to their beach excursion. And two, basically what we find out is a little bit of Jinpei and Jun's backstory.
Mm-hmm.
And how that kind of circles back at the end, and that's a pretty cool story.
Yeah. It was a nice way to kind of slide a little backstory in the course of this, because we don't. I was about to say, I'm trying to think. Have we gotten too much backstory from any of these characters? We got a little bit from probably June and Ken in their one shots, but very little bit. But we haven't really gotten too much in the course of this, this run so far. And I'm sitting here trying to think back to the shows. I don't recall there may or may not be any from the show either, but
that was new
how
to
shows
me.
work.
Right, that was new to me.
Right.
So if they're creating it just for this particular version of continuity, great. If not, let's say they're pulling it from another reference, then great.
Yeah, I mean, there have been Gatchaman comics in the past, so maybe that's something they're pulling from one of those sources, or not, or maybe that is something in a show Bible or something that we don't necessarily have privy to, that never came out on the show, but was something that was around. Who's to say?
Right.
But regardless, it's like I said, it's still made for a pretty fun. So, or it could be brand new that they just made up. We don't know. But the timeliness of the references that we mentioned in relation to Skeleton Crew and whatnot, and actually a story that we have in the news section is pretty funny. And that's all. That's all I'm gonna say about that right at this moment. A little bit from the chat. Von Gloom says, "I am on permanent CPT time." Which Matt Wang says, which is very similar to Asian people time, and then says, "Never on time," and they're having a little conversation. Unity through lateness. Yes.
Yes. Yes. Oh boy,
I love our people.
I was about to say, true words never been said, right?
Absolutely. So that's some funny shit. But that being said, that is it for Gatchaman number 6. Yeah. We pretty much wrung that one out. So next up, it's a good issue. I don't. Well, I guess we'll get to that in a second or in a moment, because I was about to say potential click of the week. Maybe it was fun, but I don't know. We'll see when we get to there. But next up, we are going to talk about. And actually, now I'm thinking about something that I shouldn't have mentioned last week, that I was just about to mention again, about certain sound cues that I forgot to put in last week. May have to be made up for this week in something. But next book is Ultimate Spider-Man number 13.
Alrighty, Ultimate Spider-Man number 13 is written by Jonathan Hickman, with art by Marco Cacchetto, colors by Matthew Wilson, and letters by VC's Corey Petit. So we actually find out a lot in this issue. There's a lot of world building here, in the sense that there's a lot of world building of this version of the Ultimate Universe. When I mention world building, I don't think I ever expected that they would introduce, spoiler alert, minor spoiler alert. It doesn't necessarily affect your reading of the story. But I did not expect Hickman to introduce the Savage Land the way he did in this issue. That completely took me off guard. And bottom line is just kind of keeping up with what we found out in the last issue, or over the course of the last several issues. This is a version of a hunt that Kraven is on, because at the behest of the Kingpin, and Spidey's Picotech suit is doing its best to let's say, cover for him, right?
Mm-hmm.
In Peter's absence. And that's going to lead to some interesting developments because of who is behind that particular mask. In the meanwhile, we find out that Craven and some other of this version of the Sinister Six are basically setting up to hunt Spidey and Harry in the Savage Land. That's a pretty big spoiler. But at the end of the day, you knew they were going to be hunted. It was just a matter of where, what was the setting going to be, and it's a pretty interesting setting. That's a pretty big twist in this book. But ultimately, you get to see here how thorough Craven's research is on these two. You also get to see how much information this version of the Sinister Six is going to have on Spider-Man going into this hunt. Just period. Forget Harry Osborn. But at the end of the day, this has been a pretty good series. This has been a pretty good refresher on the Spider-Man mythos. So this is definitely a strong candidate for Kliq of the Week for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is usually a potential Kliq of the Week because every time we talk about it, it's usually high up there. Basically, it's probably one of the, I don't know about for you, but definitely one of the first books I end up gravitating towards first when during the course of the week. And actually, come to find out, founder of the show, Tim Dog 98, just got caught up with this book.
Nice.
So and he, I think I forgot his exact words he said on social media, but he's enjoying it. As I almost said, almost asked him, was like, is there enough mumbo jumbo for him, which is the term that he himself coined about Hickman's use of data points, data pages, and whatnot, amongst other things. So, but yeah, so the interesting thing about this issue to me, partially because I forgot how close the suit is to another version of the spider suit that it is mimicking in this particular story.
Right.
And I also had forgotten about the fact that the suit had stayed home from last issue. So I was like, wait, when did we get to this already? And then as I was going, I was like, oh, right, I forgot that happened. This is why, he doesn't have his original suit anymore, and as so on and so on and so on. So we could potentially be going. I feel like we said it when we first saw the suit that things are probably going to end up evolving into something else.
Right. Specifically because of, if you recall, I remember you made a specific point about this because the AI was patterned after Peter himself.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And using that as a template, kind of leads us down almost like a logical path.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so I guess it was just a matter of time. I guess, and now we'll get to the comments and to some points being made in the comments in the chat in a second. So yeah, the like Agent 70 said, the Savage Land gets brought up and mentioned, but without spoiling it, there are some folks that we see related in relation to, or at least one in particular. I don't recall this other one being too closely related to the Savage Land, or maybe it was at one point in time. A certain big red dinosaur shows up. So there is that. We see that, and there was something else. Potentially maybe a Godzilla versus Kong reference, which are heavily on one side of that equation, could be used as a reference. It probably is not, but you could kind of make a case for that in this.
Right.
I think there was also a Jurassic World reference in here.
That's what I was feeling.
Yeah,
I was definitely, getting Jurassic World, Jurassic Park vibes.
Which I have never. The only thing I've seen was in relation to that gesture that happens. I've never actually seen Jurassic World, so the funny thing to be able to point that out. Also, going back to something that you said, Agent 70 was I don't think the hunt was it sanctioned by Kingpin, was it? Because I thought they were kind of trying to say that he doesn't necessarily know this is going on. I don't know, unless I read something wrong.
No, it just could be my faulty memory, because at the end of the day, it's my understanding that the Kingpin is sicking the Sinister Six on them.
That part is absolutely true. But the fact that
they took turns, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
What's that?
They took turns,
right? But I think the fact that one of them actually has them is the thing.
I see. Yeah. So that's like a subtle. That's a subtle difference in like how we're interpreting, that this is sanctioned by the Kingpin.
Right.
I get it.
Because yes, that part was what you're saying is absolutely true. Yeah, he did absolutely sick them on him. So, and I guess there may or may not be some repercussions if anything comes out of this, but we don't know that for certain. Right now, we are here with this going on.
We also may get a new Spider-Man action figure Marvel Legends out of this.
Very possible. Very, very possible. And part of it kind of weirdly reminds me of Xavier and Magneto in the Savage Land, just a little bit, with the exception of the fact that, I mean, they were both powerless when they were there originally. Where
right.
in this case, one of the folks here are not.
Right.
But but part of it still kind of feels that way for some strange reason, and I feel like we're going to get a turn from one of them during the course of this whole thing.
Probably.
It feels like it's going to come. So, but yeah, that's it. And we do, like I said, they do note a little bit of a time frame here in relation to when all of this has gone down, and I think even where we are in relation to the Ultimate Universe at large. So therein lies that. I'm really kind of curious about. There was a line that Craven said about truth serums and monogamy that I really was like, what does that have to do with what you said? Like maybe I missed something there, because it's like what huh? I mean, I guess if you read into something to what he was talking about, you can put something together on that in relation to who he was talking about. But when he said that line, I was like, wait, what? How did that get you what you wanted or what you were looking for and that? And that was kind of weird. But anywho's, before we go to the next thing, we have to get the chat stuff out of the way. Let's see. Ultimate Spider-Man was enlightening according to Von Gloom, and especially in terms of abilities and the costume. Let's see, the 3 rules established by Peter for the suit were hilarious. Yes. That was pretty cool. Matt Wang says, how are the Hickmanisms? How many Council of Reeds? Any singularities? Time travel? None of that, and the time travel stuff is in Ultimates. So flowcharts, we haven't really gotten any flowcharts yet. It's been very light on the stuff we know Hickman from, and that has been weirdly refreshing, but also very, very weird.
In a sense, he's done, he's taken like a light Hickman brush to the Spider-Man story.
Very light.
It's still recognizable,
but
there's definitely some Hickman stuff there.
Yeah, and Von Gloom says, Spider-Man is definitely light on the mumbo jumbo. Wonder if it's really ghost written by someone. No. Come on now. Give Hickman some credit. Man's probably got some range. I mean, clearly he does because of this. If you read into other stuff, like I said, I think when Gods was going on and this was still going on, you could definitely note the difference in tone from both of those. And I think I even said it then. It was like reading Gods and then turning around and reading this is just weirdly different, just wildly different in tone. So but you can still kind of tell both was written by the same person. So,
Right. When I say it's a light touch, it's a Spidey that's not a young high school kid,
right,
but it's still a rookie Spider-Man.
right,
Right? He's just an older rookie Spider-Man. So there's still some mannerisms that we would actually just expect that any writer would touch on. Any writer would take advantage of this particular stage of a Spider-Man's career, whether or not he's X number of years old.
Right. And definitely this Peter is not yet racked with the associated guilt and whatnot that he has in Amazing Spider-Man number 66.
I was about to say that is you picked up that setup perfectly, hit that softball pitch perfectly. Amazing Spider-Man number 66 is written by Justina Ireland with art by Andrea Brocardo, colors by Marcio Moniz and Eric Arciniega, and letters by our favorite lettering paisan, the busiest letterer over at Virtual Calligraphy, VC's Joe Caramagna. So, if you've been reading these 8 Deaths of Spider-Man, what you've come to find out, at least in this sort of interim period during the storyline, is that we've gotten to a Peter Parker at the end of his rope. He's basically had it. He's not trying to engage with anything or anyone. He's basically just had it. And it's disheartening, but at the same time, we're getting, hints of people kind of nudging him back by accident or on purpose towards, the Peter Parker that we know as painful as it is for a character like him to persevere. He ultimately hasn't, he's gotten sick and tired of being sick and tired. That's something that we hear every now and again, and sometimes we even feel it every now and again. So I definitely sympathize with Peter during these last several issues, because I get that losing hope, being hopeless, and being sick and tired of being sick and tired are just part of being human. And I kind of like that during the course of this story, you get astral projection, Doctor Strange, and the particular scion of Sidorak having their own conversation about what's so different about between Stephen Strange and Peter Parker, and what makes them, so different from each other.
Right. Yeah, and I was about to say, being sick and tired is like you said, is a thing we've definitely pretty much mostly all felt, especially in nowadays with things going on. But yeah, this is a level of Peter being down. This is probably the lowest we've ever seen Peter down, for good reasons, obviously, going through the thing that he just got through. I don't think anybody would even, would come out of that, coming on the other side of that okay at all, if at all, So, especially even if with as much as he has gone through at this point. So it's kind of, again, it's also kind of weird, but also like, that's the thing you can say is like, wow, you thought you would never see it, because it's like, obviously, he has his down moments, but then he kind of comes back up one way or the other through gumption or sheer will or the help of his friends, whatever you want to say. And they tried that, and he still was kind of a certain way, including, hey, if you're watching the video version, there is a version of the cover that kind of does happen, which seems to be a month for that, because there's another, because I think a similar thing kind of happened in Storm with the title character and another character in a moment of want. I don't know what the better word to call that at this point, but sometimes you need a little comfort, and sometimes you gotta hit up an axe still.
Oh, right. And what I was gonna say is, we all know that Spidey's been through similar bouts of, depression is probably the right word. Definitely down moments in his Spider-Man career. Forget even being Peter Parker. in his Spider-Man career, but obviously kind of intertwining with his down moments as Peter Parker, where everything is, everything is attributed to the Parker luck, and ultimately, it's, we have episodes of the costume getting thrown in the garbage can.
Yep.
Right. This isn't the first time, but this is definitely the most recent time that we've seen Parker down in the dumps so bad. But obviously, this is colored by, let's say, current ways of looking at this particular aspect of mental health, and more so, it's a more modern way of looking at the downside of being Spider-Man. I don't know if that makes any sense to you, but I hope it does.
No, absolutely does. In fact, to go so far as to be mentioned in the course of, wow, this is not going to mess this up, but in the course of this issue by another character who, character I'm not crazy about seeing at all, but at the same time, hey. It is what it is, and I feel bad about that because I'm sure that he's not a bad guy or a bad kid. I'm sure, but it's still kind of wholly unnecessary. Personally, that's just my personal.
I get it. As soon as you just illuminated who it was, I was like, oh, okay, I get it.
Mm-hmm. So,
yeah,
actually, and surprisingly, no Miles. But then again, I guess I doubt if any of this is going to come back into Spectacular Spider-Man. So they did what
right.
they did.
Right. I would say that we do get to see one of the characters that we associate with Sidorak finally making a stronger presence, making his presence more felt in this issue, along with the team that he's on.
Yes, I was actually kind of surprised. It was like, because we talked about this before. We knew he was coming. We
Right.
just didn't know in what capacity he was coming. So to see the capacity that we see him out, unless that's going to change next issue, which I wouldn't be surprised. But to see him in the capacity that he comes in with was unexpected. Cool, but unexpected. So like I said, we'll see how that all plays out next issue. I forgot to say something in the chat from Ultimate Spider-Man from Von Gloom says we are redacted, and then the brain eating will commence. Yeah, no, none of that, but probably more of a reprogramming. They'd probably call it in that respect. And with that, we are going to go into the next book, which is. And if you saw the cover that I put up, which is the Fantastic Four variant, we're going to get into the actual book, Fantastic Four number 28.
All right. Fantastic Four number 28 is written by Ryan North, with pencils by Stephen Cummings, inks by Wayne Foucher, colors by Jesus Bertov, and letters again by our favorite lettering paisan, the hardest working letterer over at Virtual Calligraphy, VC's Joe Caramagna. Man, this is not the intro I expected to basically, we all know that One World Under Doom is coming very soon.
It's here.
As a matter of fact, it's coming right after this issue.
Right.
But this is not the way I expected One World Under Doom to be kind of cold opened, soft pedaled. There's a couple of euphemisms that I can think of to start this particular event, but this is not how I expected it to be opened up, kind of leading off. Rest in peace, Ricky Henderson, the best leadoff hitter of baseball ever in baseball, period. Right? But I did not expect this story with this particular guest star leading off. Right? And at the end of the day, this is even like the mildest spoiler. Reed and Sue enlist one of their superhero colleagues who is connected to both science and magic in order to try to come up with a solution to the barrier that Victor Von Doom has erected between Latveria and the rest of the world. And in doing so, let's just say, and that says it all. It says that Roddykat's going to go further into the story, but this is the way Ryan North chooses to kick off the storyline.
Right, which, you know what, it works though, because the book is the right book for something like this to kick off with, you know.
Right.
Doom, longtime adversary. The whole thing just comes off of the, you know, longtime first family villain. So sure, why not? You know, after the last time they faced him, and Reed still has issues with magic because of course he does. He's sitting here trying to science out magic basically, and which leads into what happens. So the funny thing about the colleague that they go to that leads up to the trap, it was wholly believable that it could have been him just genuinely acting that way.
Right.
From what we know about that character. So, and part of it is like, wow, the last time I saw him was when we found out that he had a daughter and he passed the mantle on to them, which gave me a question as to, wait, he did what with the sword? When he mentions this? But like I said, because of once things kind of play out in this issue, you kind of understand things, and that things are probably not was not as they were told. But also there was a nice little Quantum Leap reference given in the course of the story, which was, you know, I loved it.
I you know, that was a nice reference, and obviously there was a reference to Game of Thrones as well.
Of course, yeah.
So,
yeah, well, yeah, because that one, yeah, like I said, that and that even that thing was pretty much already there from this, so I didn't think that much of it. But now that you say that, yeah, that was the case. So yeah. Oh, the only thing I was going to mention is going back to the person they went to. Like, I get it, but at the same time, it's like, you know, they have more magic forward friends that they could call. And yes, I get it. They're trying to get somebody that could bridge the realm of science and magic. But even then, they probably still could. No, there's probably somebody else they could have went to outside of outside of the Black Knight. But at the same time, like I said, it makes sense for the story. So, you know, that was the only thing that just kind of stuck to me right there. I was like, you have more friends than this that I'm sure can bridge that gap. But like I said, it's been a minute since we've seen Dude, so I guess, you know, therein lies that. Matt Wang in the chat says Wang loves the cover. I almost picked up the book because of the cover, which it is a good cover, a cool cover. And I keep wanting to call.
I would say that Fantastic Four is worth picking up just because Ryan North has been doing a bang up job.
Oh yeah, he's been hitting it for the whole time. Again, another consistently good book, you know, that will surprise you sometimes, as to how good it is.
Published by Joshua Cassara and Dean White.
Yeah. Von Gloom says they could have reached out to obscure FF character Mecha Mage. I have no idea who that is. So,
you know what's funny is that for something like this, right? It's convenient that they took Mysterium off the board,
right,
just before One World Under Doom.
True. Yeah, because that could have just put the kibosh on all the what happens here. Yeah, you're right. But also, you would have to think about whether they were thinking about it. Because if you think about what happened in Iron Man, he wasn't even thinking anything about it. So even if Mysterium was still kind of on the board, they probably could have been like, "Oh yeah, I won't need it," you know. Well, although no, I should take it back. No, I take it back everything back, because no, they absolutely would have gone there. You're right. They would have been like, "Oh wait, we still got this. Let's throw that at it and see what that does for it." So you're absolutely right.
I mean, I thought about that when I was reading Iron Man this week.
Right. But yeah, because I was just thinking, I was like, well, what would it? But no, that would absolutely be the thing that there would be the first thing they would think about, if they could get their hands on some. Von Gloom says Claremont created her during his FF run. Got it. Okay. That was a deep cut though, sir. I commend you. Let's see.
I'm saying, is it time to go to the Googles and to Marvel Unlimited are not a sponsor, but definitely a tool for research?
Basically, or at the very least to the wiki. So
Right.
But before we do any in all of that, we are going to go into our next book, which is Uncanny X-Men number 9. Excuse me.
Already, Uncanny X-Men number 9 is written by Gail Simone, with art by Andre Bresson, colors by Matthew Wilson, and letters by VC's Clayton Cowles. So the Bayou X-Men, right? These are the Louisiana X-Men, who are dealing more with a young group of characters who are new to them, and the more senior X-Men are arguing over how best to deal with them and trying to figure out how best to get to know them. And ironically, and it's no coincidence that Jubilee's on this team, because ironically, the thing they come up with as an icebreaker, as a way to get the kids out of the house and to get them getting to be more social, is to go to the mall, right? Very 90s, but it still works as contrived as it is in 2025. It still works. But one of the funny things that we find out, and I feel like it's a weird go between, it's a weird give and take here, because what we find out is that the Sentinel program is being developed in very kind of offbeat ways, and you would think that in this day and age of let's just say post John Wick, right? Like anytime you mess with the dogs, you pretty much hate the character who does the messing with the dogs. And as soon as I was reading all this, I was like, yeah, they suck. They're going to die. Each of these people are going to die a very horrible death. So that's pretty much my take on it. But yeah, no, it was an interesting issue, because we did get to know a little bit some of the newer characters that were introduced, and we got to see some of their dynamics and how they work together.
Yes. Yeah. What was I going to say? The explanation of how that text works. Yeah, just was like, okay, yeah, you're like you just said, yeah, no, you're going down for this one, pal.
Yeah. It's like, oh, they developed it this way for this reason. Yeah, you're all gonna die. You're going to die.
But the fact that the person he was talking to was like, hey, can I get like 4 dozen of these? Even though with what happened, I'm like, yeah. So I'm just gonna throw out a couple of things here. There was a Lowenbrow knockoff reference, or there was a Lowenbrow reference in the form of a knockoff, which was kind of funny, because I don't think, when was the last time anybody thought about Lowenbrow outside of that, even though that's not what the thing was called, but you can kind of tell it. And it's not surprising who brings up the fact, because I didn't even think they were going to bring that fact, because a couple of issues ago, before that whole raid thing happened, I think Nightcrawler and Jubilee went to go shopping for some beer, and Gambit wanted a specific kind, and of course this is Nightcrawler who is German, and which I don't even, that was the other thing. I was like, wait, Nightcrawler drinks beer? I know he has with Wolverine
from time before. Listen, he does come off as a Catholic priest, so that's a little, but most priests are, they're open to going to bars anyway.
Oh, yeah, no, it wasn't necessarily for that part, but it was more so for the fact that I would, and again, now that I'm thinking about it, I know he and Wolverine has knocked back a couple, so it's not like that's not the great. It's just weird that it hasn't been seen in a while, and I figured his taste would not necessarily be beer. I don't know, for some strange reason, the way he comes off sometimes, but Therein lies that, and yeah, so yeah, like Agent 70 said, we do get a little bit of we get the adults talking about what they want, what to do with the kids, and the kids kind of doing their thing, and some getting a little closer to the others. Before the kids go off and have a Jubilee experience.
Right.
And then the whole and with the thing that with the stuff that Agent 70 just mentioned, and as I told Agent 70, or I mentioned to Agent 70 before the show, they got, apparently you can see like in the background they ended up, because every issue, like they seemed like they're rounding up another mutant or so. So and looks like they got another one here, and let's just say there's one speedster who's probably going to be really upset about that. I doubt if they're going to come into play, but who is currently entangled with that person. So actually, now I wish I had read Scarlet Witch, but I very doubt there's any crossover there with that. Also, it seemed like so I made a post on X/Twitter about Jubilee and Boom Boom kind of paid trading power secrets or whatever the case may be, and maybe it seems like Jubilee had actually been listening to because of a thing that she does during the course of this, because that's not a thing that she normally does with her powers. So
yeah,
therein lies that. Yeah, that being said, it was a good issue. So we shall see. From the chat though, real quick, let's see a little bit more on that Mecha Mage character. Von Gloom says Fantastic Four Annual 1999 is her first appearance. Jose Landron is the artist, to which Matt Wang says Landron, excuse me.
Yeah.
Or Landron. And Matt also asks, are they the Bayou X-Men? Wang is not amused by them yet. So yes, they are from the Louisiana X-Men. And I, as I was saying that in my mind, when Agent 70 said that, and this is a reference I know Matt's going to get, but I would like to see Matt Wang. Actually, maybe I don't. This is probably bad for him, but seeing Matt Wang 97 and Von Gloom in Mark Twain dress and a holodeck, talking comics would be kind of interesting. So, but that's just me and my twisted my twisted brain. And Von Gloom says the controversial cousin reveal was this issue. I'm guessing going back to the Fantastic Four annual thing. What controversial cousin? But I wouldn't read the sister from last volume. We have not seen her hide nor hair of her since the end of last volume. Oh, half sister, but still. Either way, therein lies that. Next up, because I think about that every now and then. It's like, yeah, you introduced this character, and we have not seen this character and one hide nor hair of this character since then. And actually, folks, that is the end of the books that we have in common, actually. So now we can go over to Rapid Fire.
Oh, Rapid Fire review time.
I ain't got time to bleed.
To make it through, I will try to keep it as brief as possible. First up, as I mentioned earlier, is Iron Man #4. It's written by Spencer Ackerman with art by Javier Pina, colors by Alex Sinclair. Rod Rice does a 2-page spread involving the Scarlet Witch, who is on the cover. That's not a big surprise. And letters are by, again, our favorite lettering paisan, VC's Joe Caramagna. So this has proven to be a nice twist to kind of all of the rebuilding Iron Man from scratch stories that we've gotten over the course of the character's history. Now, as we all know, all of these comics are on a rubber band continuity, and so And to top it all off, some of these comics are always somebody's first comic. So we've been reading these stories for such a long time that we recognize some of the tropes that they employ. And what we see here is at least a familiar trope in that Tony Stark is rebuilding his company, his empire, and trying to break in a new suit of armor and dealing with all of the foibles and the tweaks he's going to have to make. What's interesting here is that he's coming up with ways to make things harder for himself, because at the end of the day, he's got something magic involved, because, we mentioned earlier about the Mysterium stuff. He's also dealing with someone who's, almost as smart or just as skilled as he is, dealing with armors, that being Riri Williams. And this issue's big guest star is Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch, who is helping to deal with some of the magic-based things. Once the magic-based things start to clear themselves up and they can focus on, more technological stuff, they point themselves in the direction of a certain character, and it's good to see Melinda May, aka the Cavalry, aka Ming Na Wen, reappear as a supporting character in this story. And at the end of the issue, a character that I had the same reaction that Tony Stark has, which is blank blank blank. Right, and this character has 3 parts to their name. So when you flip through it, I'm not spoiling who it is, but when you flip through, you're just like, oh my goodness, when was the last time I saw this character? So it's definitely somebody that you have to really rack the mental ohatmu that you might be carrying to try to figure out when you last saw this character. Next up is Phoenix number 7. It's written by Stephanie Phillips, with art by Marco Renna, colors by David Curiel, and letters by VC's Corey Petit. So, Space Avengers, Space X-Men, Guardians of the Galaxy assemble? Because that's what we get here. We have Jean Grey assembling a team to take on Thanos and the Black Order. And this is a pretty fun team. It's Jean Grey with the power of the Phoenix, Rich Rider Nova, Carol Danvers Captain Marvel, Lady Sif, and Rocket Raccoon. So yeah, this is a pretty powerful version of the Guardians of the Galaxy, and they take on they basically take on Thanos. And if you have not been keeping up with this, Thanos has been enhanced with a certain artifact, and they're looking to remove that artifact. It's it's very much keyed into a comparison to the Infinity Gauntlet, but this is not as powerful as the Infinity Gauntlet, but it's still separate Thanos from this particular artifact, and it's very much a battle of wits and a battle of tactics that gets us to the end of the issue, which is kind of a flashback to the big climax of the Dark Phoenix saga, right? That's like a minor spoiler. It's just a flashback to, where that all happened. All right. Next up is Wolverine Revenge number 4 of 5. It's written by the aforementioned Jonathan Hickman, with pencils by Greg Capullo, inks by Tim Townsend, colors by Alex Sinclair, with an assist by VCO Placencia on page 1, and letters by VC's Corey Petit. Now, folks, remember, this is an alternate, reality storyline. This is not main canon 616. This is Wolverine unleashed on a revenge tour, because it's just, the life he's had to live because of the events of the very first issue, have, let's just say, the dominoes fell a certain way, and Wolverine has been pretty much unleashed on his rogues gallery. And this issue involves Wolverine taking on what's left of, and when I say what's left of Victor Creed, I'm not kidding. And what's left of, let's say, the progeny of Omega Red. So there's a lot of kind of gruesome stuff here. The last page involves a reveal that shows a character that may or may not be the progeny of someone else who died in a previous issue. Right? I strongly suspect that's who it is, but we will find out in the next issue. This is the penultimate issue, so we'll find out how Hickman and Capullo decide to end this series in the next and final issue of this miniseries.
Not much mumbo jumbo here?
No. Lots of hacking and slashing. Next up is X-Men Xavier's Secret #1. Both story 1 and story 2 are written by Alex Paknadel, with art by Diogenes Nevis. Colors are by Arthur Hesley, and letters are by VC's Clayton Cowles. So I think the first story in this book was kind of snuck in there. It did not feel like it belonged because the tagline for this book is Xavier's Secret. So we got an idea of, that this might address something, some of the stuff that was left dangling, or plot lines that were left dangling, or motivations that were left unsaid in the fall of Krakoa. So the first story is really about Jean and Scott's last, let's say, several days or moments together before Jean decided to strike out into space as the Phoenix. And it's a pretty straightforward story with dealing with the psychic echoes being animated and made stronger because of the presence of the Phoenix, and Cyclops falling under the thrall of it. But at the end of the day, it's relatively straightforward. Xavier's Secret, though, is much more fully delved into in the second story. And that story involves Sally Floyd. And if you're wondering who Sally Floyd was, I had to Google this character because I'd forgotten the name of this character. Something was nagging me. I kept thinking this is a familiar character. And it turns out that character is obviously connected to Ben Urich. And this is a character that showed up in the Civil War frontline issues. And, So it turns out that Sally Floyd is an alcoholic reporter, and she's basically unhireable for certain reasons. Fortunately for her, though, she gets assigned the story by Ben Urich at the Daily Bugle to look into what happened with Professor Xavier with the fall of Krakoa, right? And this is stuff that we all wanted to know. So if this interests you in any way, like Xavier's take on what happened, we have pretty much, let's say, like 3/4 of the story, right? And why he did what he did. But the last quarter of it, I think, is covered here in this story, in the second half of this book. So if that interests you in any way, I would ask you to take a look at this. All right. Next up is TVA #2. It's written by Catherine Blair.
Sorry, hold on. Before you get to that one, let me give a little bit of information on that last book, actually. That because I knew something was biting on me for that one. So that Xavier's Secret book are basically reprints of an Infinity comic.
Oh, okay. I had no idea.
Yeah, because I was like that creative team has done a lot of Infinity comics, and I was like, so when you said that, I was like, wait, let me look and see if that was the case, and sure enough, Yeah, that is the case with this.
I get it.
Yeah. So
Get it.
continue. Sorry.
Well, that makes more sense as to why they would include that first story, because that has nothing to do with Xavier's secret, but they wanted to pad out, a book that would or should be published.
Right.
It makes sense that they would publish, given that background. I will understand very much why Marvel would choose to publish that second story. Because even though I do have, in fact, access to that second story on Marvel Unlimited, I would never think to open it just to see the story.
Right. I've been reading some of those Infinite. This one I did not, but I've been reading some of those Infinity comics every now and then when I get a chance, and some of them are all right. And I also have noticed some of them have gone back and been printed. So it's not a surprise that happened. You wasn't really sure.
Absolutely. Thank you for following up on that.
Not a problem. All right.
Next up is TVA number 2. It's written by Catherine Blair, with art by Pere Perez, colors by Guru EFX, and letters by VC's Joe Sabino. So I had to catch up on TVA. I had to read issue number 1 before getting to issue number 2, and I picked a good time to pick this up because I would say it does help to understand, and having watched Loki, all the seasons, to figure out how all this stuff fits together and how all these characters fit together. What If definitely helps a little bit. It also helps to see some of these characters who are from what you would expect to see in like an Exiles book, kind of mushed together. And that's kind of the premise here. But at the end of the day, it's just fun to see these characters kind of talking to each other and doing TVA-related things with some of the characters that we were introduced to in the TVA during the Loki, like B-15, OB, and Mobius. So that these characters have prominent roles is pretty fun, right? So I would say, get into it while you can. The penultimate book that I have to talk about is Absolute Wonder Woman number 4. It's written by Kelly Thompson with art by Hayden Sherman, colors by Jordi Belair, and letters by Becca Carey. This is another book I had to catch up on. That's kind of like a theme for this week. I had the opportunity, it's pretty brick outside up here in the Northeast, folks. So I had the opportunity to sit and read in peace these books, and I had a chance to catch up on a few extra books this week. So Absolute Wonder Woman number 4 is the latest chapter in the absolute retelling of this version of Wonder Woman. And bear in mind that this is a darker world. This is not the mainstream DC universe that we know, right? And so this is an interesting retelling and reinterpretation of the Wonder Woman story, and it still rings true as Wonder Woman. It's interesting that we see another. I don't want to say that Wonder Woman has necessarily avoided too much magic, but she never really wielded it herself the way she wields it in this story, because she's a magic user, as opposed to just being someone who generally uses enchanted things and objects. But she's a magic user in the truest sense of the word. Like in this issue, she's looking for. She finds herself looking for elements and ingredients to cast spells and create potions, and that's a nice little twist on Wonder Woman, and that obviously tracks with the change in her origin and her parentage, right? I'm not going to spoil that. You should definitely read Absolute Wonder Woman if you're interested in knowing that. But I liked where this issue and the last 2 issues went, because I had fallen off. I did not have a chance to read issue number 3 when it came out. I think that was Christmas week, right? And I just didn't have a chance to circle around to Absolute Wonder Woman number 3. But this week I had a chance to catch up, and I would definitely recommend catching up on this Absolute Wonder Woman book. Last but not least for me is Justice League Unlimited number 3. It's written by Mark Waid, with art by Dan Mora, colors by Tamara Bonvillain, and letters by Ariana Mar, who is freelancing here, not with VC. So I appreciate that Mark Waid is doing the Hickman Avengers thing here, where everyone is on one unified satellite. Everyone, the Justice Society, the Titans, everyone who's a hero is basically a member of the Justice League, for good or for ill. Right? We've seen that kind of bite them in the butt when it comes to a story that I had talked about in the Titans book with Killer Frost. Right? In this book, though, we get some more insight into how the Justice League is set up and how they're being assigned to their missions, and what some of the characters are going through in the wake of absolute power. And I didn't know what the Atom Project was about until I read issues 2 and 3 of Justice League Unlimited. But I'm glad to have been caught up on what's going on. And I'm glad that there's a kind of there is the word I'm looking for is I hate to use it. It's continuity. There's continuity between these books, right? What's happening in Justice League Unlimited matters to some of the books in some of the other books that are at least non-absolute right now, right? What happens there matters, right? Because there's an ongoing story. There's an ongoing greater story. It's synergy, right? That's the word I was looking for. So ultimately, I enjoyed this. It was a good read, and that's it for me.
Right. As we were talking about this prior to the show, I mentioned the Justice League Unlimited animated show, which is also feels like a thing that they're doing here with the.
Oh, definitely. They're drawing upon that as a reference in the sense that the title itself is
But also,
a play on that. I think that this is much more along the lines of everyone is an Avenger, right? I think they're taking that even further by basically consolidating all the teams under one roof, making like sub teams.
Sorry, go ahead.
So that's just it's Wade taking it like that extra step, and that's it for me.
I was about to say, I would argue that Justice League did that whole thing first, actually.
Oh, I wouldn't argue with that. I think you're right.
I would have a little bit more research than we're going to take here now to do that. But yeah.
Right. What I would say is they just didn't, like when I refer to Hickman's run on the Avengers and making everybody an Avenger, they still kept certain boundaries in place, right? We're X-Men, right? They played on their side of the field, right? And the Avengers basically plucked and took whoever they wanted to from the X-Men, right? We obviously saw Wolverine; he played everywhere.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I was also going to say that if you were interested, because we talked about the Atom Project book, I think last week or so. So if you're interested in knowing about what this is coming out of, or what came out of, I guess basically the reference they might be mentioning here, that book started like last week or week before last. I can't remember which one. Which was all right. I don't know. It's going somewhere. I'm not sure where yet. Well, actually, I know where it's going because that's basically the book that's setting up that hey, they're trying to get people. They're trying to put people's powers back in the right place. And that is their whole task, and that's been showing up in this book and other couple of books here and there, like that question book or whatever the case may be. So yeah, definitely everything is all connected with this and it's all coming out of Justice League Unlimited. So it's a thing. I just hadn't had a chance to read it this week. Before I get into my books, actually, let me go catch up with Chuck really quick and say that yeah, Von Gloom mentioned earlier about the Uncanny X-Men. The controversial cousin reveal was this issue, which he was talking about that, and he is suggesting, which I can see it, but I don't. Maybe I didn't pay that close of attention. Basically saying, and Bobby DeCosta was the cousin of that ransom character that he called at the end of the book. Slight spoiler, but I'm not surprised because that would make a whole lot of sense given this character's heritage, and not necessarily heritage, but it would make sense, put it this way, because especially everything they've said about this character pretty much sounded like Bobby in the first place. So I thought they were just doing another bootleg Bobby, as I said in the chat. So if that indeed ends up being the case, yeah, that makes a whole hell of a lot of sense. Let's see. What was I gonna say? Oh, Matt Wang says sounds like Gilgamesh. I think we were talking about when you were talking about Phoenix or roundabout there. Von Gloom says good old Ryder. Yes, old Dick Ryder there. Matt Wang mentioned no Quasar, no Star Fox, no. What about Charlie 27? In relation to that Phoenix book, and I basically said all of those would have made that team way better, with the exception of Star Fox. But shout out to the OG Guardians of the Galaxy, which we've only seen a glimpse of in the Ultimate Universe recently. Let's see. Von Gloom says, "Oh no, those poor broccoli people." To which reminds me of something. I feel like that felt like a very next wave thing, also. But it's just, I think there was also maybe in relation to Phoenix, but I don't remember. That being said, we're going to get into my books, which sticks into the DC corner with Star Fox has been canceled because of a problem. Yeah, well, nobody think about Star Fox regardless. But yes, I do remember that coming up in comics in the last few years. I think it was a She-Hulk book, actually. Not necessarily canceled, but they brought that thing up. But my first book is Black Canary, Best of the Best, number 3 of 6. Echo. Weird. Written by Tom King, art by Ryan Sook, colors by Dave Stewart, and letters by Clayton Cowles. So this is book 3 and also round 3 of this knockdown, drag down fight between Black Canary and Lady Shiva. We get some flashbacks to Dinah training. A certain bat shows up, of which I said before continuing to read, like, dang, given what I know what's going on behind the scenes of why Dinah is doing what she's doing, really could have helped out a situation. But they addressed that in this particular book. So there we go. Yes, Von Gloom, Brian Sook is doing the interiors for this book. So yes. But yeah, we cut, like I said, cut back and forth between stuff outside of the ring with Dinah's training, and we even get a little bit more about why she's doing this and who she's doing this, who pretty much set her up to do this. To which I'm sure they're probably going to expand a little bit more on in the next couple of books, because it wouldn't be a Tom King book if something like that did not happen. I guess spoiler alert, because Dinah's fighting for a reason that is very close to her, and another reason, or another thing that Tom King sometimes brings up in his books, weirdly enough, for a reason. But hey, well, you can find out what that is, but it starts with C, and it's fuckery. But yeah, the book continues to be good. The whole fight commentary continues to be funny. There's some wrestling things that happen in the course of this issue, so that might be appreciative to a couple of people who are wrestling fans. There is a certain villain, or I guess a certain known DC adversary that shows up in this book in relation to things that I just said. But they also look like Matt Berry from the IT Crowd and this, that whatever that those who lurk in the shadows, whatever that show is. I can't remember if you know who Matt Berry is, you know who I'm talking about. But the character has a striking resemblance to Matt Berry in this issue, and now I kind of want to see them play that character, even though it would never play well. So therein lies that. Next book, Von Gloom says this book is a must buy now. I mean, it's been a good read, I will dare say. So art reasonings aside, it's actually a pretty good read, I think. Where it's going, I think I have an idea, but we'll probably see, because Tom King will probably also throw another swerve in there by the end of it, and it's looking to be soon. Next book though is Star Trek number 28, written by former guests of the show Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing, art by Tess Fowler, and letters again by Clayton Cowles. So I'm going to read directly from my notes and say that everyone got snapped except for Cisco, and I mistyped Cisco's name.
Wait, did you type it and spell it like
sure
the
did.
musical artist?
I sure did. I was like, wait, I just noticed that. Damn it. But yes, so everybody got snapped except for Cisco, who, because of his prior, if you know enough about the Star Trek Deep Space Nine and what ends up happening to him at the end of that show, kind of plays into that just a little bit. And he, I'm going to say, probably has a Picard-like journey of a life where he ends up. I basically said he finds himself isekai'd in a way, which folks out there who know their anime know what I'm talking about. I'm gonna skip that because like he mentions a couple of people from things going on, but he doesn't mention Dax, and I feel like that is a dreadful oversight. But that's just me. We found out that apparently during his whole DS9 experience, he never learned Bajoran, I don't think. Which that's really weird. But during the course of this whole thing, as he lives out this, let's just say, seemingly familiar godly lifespan that almost paints him out to be the first prophet. Again, if you know your DS9, you know what I'm talking about, but doesn't necessarily go all the way there unless they're going to do that next issue because of but we shall see. So yeah, this is basically a Cisco focused issue because of what happened last issue. So, or in what's been going on in the greater universe at this point, or lack thereof, greater universe at this point. Let's just say. Funkdom says, "Oh no, Truck Sun strikes again, but in space. Truck Con, yeah, I don't know. I'm not entirely sure what that means, but I'm gonna take you for that one. Next up, though, is as I notes. Rolling Rivals number 16. Written by Robert Kirkman, art by Lorenzo De Felici, colors by Patricio Delpeche. I keep wanting to call him Depeche Mode. I guess we are in Depeche Mode. Letters by Russ Wooten. So, our Skuxoid friend, what?
No, I just kind of laughed when you said that we are in Depeche Mode.
I mean, kinda, yeah. Our Skuxoid friend meets Cobra Law's space representatives, as I have in my notes. And I think that's pretty a succinct way of saying that. And the if you're watching the video version, you can see, yeah, that's a thing that happens. And there's a little altercation between them, of which we find out that that Skuxoid dude is a little bit more capable than we saw from the Transformers third season. Funnily enough, but after that takes care of itself, we get a little bit more on the actual main characters of the book in Derek, who's on his planet and dealing with that whole situation and gets caught up in something, or gets caught, And then we have the other main character of Solila, who's on her quest to find Zerta Trion. I almost said Vector Sigma, but she pretty much goes to a Vector Sigma type situation in this issue and basically gets thrown back on her quest because of the rudeness of the Vector Sigma because she does have the key to Vector Sigma after all, or Zerta Trion, whatever, that she ends up using. So that's pretty much the majority of what's going on here. And at the end of the issue, Solila may have possibly run across another Cybertronian, a quite larger one, but then again, they're all larger than the people in this book. So who's it? Don't know, but there's been one that's been teased a couple of issues ago in this book. I don't think it's them. If it is, yeah, no, the scaling was wrong. Or it could be. But basically, in my notes and in the book, the words "I still function" pop up. And no, it is not that character who we know to say it. Because we know where that character is.
Right, he's ripped out some optics.
Yes, but I find it funny that in my notes before the words actually get mentioned, I actually say it in my notes, and then oh wait, a character actually shows up and says it. Because there is a different reason why I said it, because of a thing that happens in the course of the book. But yeah, it happens. And last but not least, I'm not going to worry about putting up the variant cover for that book. And I forgot to read Terminator. And last book for me is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles X Naruto #2 of 4. I think it's a 4 anyway. Written by Caleb Goldner, excuse me, my apologies. Art by Henry Presetia. Colors by Raul Angulo, and letters by Ed Dukeshaw. I feel like I've just butchered a whole bunch of people's names in that, and I apologize. But continuing from last issue's revelation in that Kakashi apparently knows of Hamato Yoshi, we could get another bit of revelation in that it seems like, and I don't know if this was a thing in the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle series, but apparently in this particular version, let's just say Splinter is not Hamato Yoshi, as we come to find out. And I feel like that has actually come up someplace else, but I think in the actual cartoon, it is him that turns into Splinter, and not what happens here. But I feel like what happens here actually did happen in a Turtles book, or maybe in the original Turtles book. I don't know. I could be wrong. Regardless, we get a little bit of backstory on both sides. You know, for those, you know, we get a little bit of Turtles backstory. We get a little bit of Naruto backstory for those, you know, and that kind of comes together, and come to find out as they are chopping it up in the layer that they have things in common. But they also are not watching the sixes, which leads to the end of the book where, a fateful meeting ends up happening at the end of this issue. And also, Team 7 ends up learning about pizza, because apparently they did not, which makes a whole lot of sense. And let's see, 2 things. Big Apple Village, that's never ends up striking me when they mention it in this book. And also Black April. Yes. That's pretty much that. And we will get into... Oh, wait, before I get into that, I'm sorry. So Von Gloom comes with the facts with Splinter is either Hamato Yoshi transformed, or his pet rat transformed, or some variation of the two. Yes. There you go. In IDW, he is a mutant rat who is the reincarnation of Hamato Yoshi. Okay, well, see, I never read those ones, so there you go. And this is an IDW joint book, so I guess that makes them partially some sense. And with that, we're going to get into Kliqs of the week.
Kliqs of the week.
You got yours?
I have candidates. So I will tell you what my candidates are, because I'm still thinking. I did end up reading a lot this week. So my candidates are Absolute Wonder Woman number 4, Ultimate Spider-Man number 13. I actually did like Uncanny X-Men number 9, and Amazing Spider-Man number 66, and Fantastic Four number 28. You know, it turned out to be a pretty solid week of books this week, so I'm kind of contemplating a lot here in my Click of the Week choices. How about yourself? Not Star Blast number 1, Matt. Sorry.
God damn it, Matt! This is I knew at some point you were going to mention that again. Folks may know when Matt was on, he mentioned that. He's mentioned Star Blast because he is that kind of a person. But we love him. So, I still have not read that yet. By the way, Matt, when you brought that up the last time. Nomad ongoing issue 4. Stop. Just stop.
I think I have that in my collection.
I'm fairly certain I do not, because I never did care for Nomad. Not when Steve was running around. Not when they had that other dude.
Right. Yeah. Road. It was when he was doing a hard biker.
Right. Someone in the DC corner might say.
Yeah.
But Gatchaman 6 would be one of mine. Let's see. What was the other one? I did have a potential. I had these things written down here. Definitely Ultimate Spider-Man, one of them. But that's not a surprise. Fantastic Four, also a pretty good one. But again, that is also consistent. So not a surprise there. I did enjoy. I usually like Star Trek, so that's not saying much. But I'm not putting it on the list this time. Uncanny also, I guess would be another one. And Black Canary, Best of the Best, number 3, kind of is there, but I know that one's not going to make the final cut. Oh, but I have been enjoying that book. And I guess before we go into what Agent 70's got is, I'm just going to mention this book that we were talking about from last week, which is called, I didn't have a chance to read it yet. I should have flipped through it. Fortune and Glory, the musical, which is basically the story of Spider-Man, well, Bendis's, I guess, side of the story, recollection of the story of Spider-Man Turn on the Dark, which is that cursed musical that we talked about last week that this was coming out. That came out this week. I will probably try to read that this week. I know one PC and underscore Doge said he was going to read this as well this weekend, which is kind of funny. So that is out there for folks who want to partake of that. Agent 70, do you have your pick?
I think so, and I think it'll come in as a surprise. I think I'm going to go with Absolute Wonder Woman number 4.
Okay. In that book, actually, in relation to the other 2 Ultimate / Absolute books, I think it's this one. This one, I think. This one, then Well, no. Some folks said this one Superman and then Batman, but I think there is also some people who's like this one Batman and then Superman is like the dry one.
I think that's the order that they fall in.
Yeah. So actually, I haven't really partaken of any of these yet, so I don't know yet. Because I have the stupid thing where I want to actually read Absolute Power, and I probably shouldn't. But because that would lead me to read the stuff that led up to that, and that's a whole other 3 things, one of which I was actually reading at the time. So it's real dumb. But for wait, I'm sorry, you said you did say Absolute Wonder.
Would recommend reading like the last. I forget how many issues Absolute Power was as a miniseries. You could get away with reading the last 2 or 3 issues of it. You do not have to read the whole miniseries.
True, don't have to, and being me and will probably do are 2 different things. Like, so we'll see how if that happens. I'm also threatening to plunk down on that DC Unlimited thing, which I don't want to do uh, for reasons. But also not a sponsor. If they would, I probably would actually use it.
Mhm.
Wow, hot take from Matt Wang. If you like hot trash, you will like Absolute Power.
Yeah, like I said, you don't have to read the whole thing. It was not fun, but
Yeah, well,
the whole reason behind this absolute universe can be illuminated and described in the last like 2 issues. You don't have to read the whole thing.
so Matt says first and last issues are all you need to read.
Yeah, that's not bad.
So yeah, I don't know. Like I said, it's just me because I get silly like that. Some of y'all know this, but we'll see if that actually ever happens.
Yeah,
Fortune
first,
and Glory is a
I,
great
that's
graphic novel,
actually a good recommendation because I kind of forgot how key the first issue is in setting up the whole absolute stuff too.
which usually is the case,
Yeah.
So, or it should be the case anyway. Apparently Matt Wang has read Fortune and Glory, so because it's a great graphic novel. So
Oh, nice.
that's a good to know. I will have to partake of. Because I am very very curious about it. Because like I said, we talked about it last week in the news section. That Brenda's was basically a part of that whole situation. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that happen, how that plays out from his from what he's from his view anyway. Let's see so we can kind of get this going. Shoot. So it's really realistically down to Ultimate, and I did like that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles book. Also, I think if I remember that. So, but I am actually just going to, for the sake of also sliding a curveball, which is probably not that much of a curveball. Oh, stop it. Gatchaman number 6 is my
There
click
it
of
is.
the week.
Sometimes you have to play the final Jeopardy music.
No, you don't. You just do that just because you're a troll. Sometimes though, yeah, it does happen that way. Admittedly. Matt Wang says the best issue was the last issue of the side mini with the Global Guardians. Wait, isn't that Invincible? Oh, Z-list characters are my favorite. Yes, we know by your love of Stingray.
Yeah.
Boom, boom. Anyway, before we get into the news section, let's get our first ad read.
Our first ad read of the night is for Wink, your personalized wine club. Wink is a world of wine delivered right to your door. From rosé to Cabernet to Torronté, Wink has over 100 styles of wine to discover. Ever try an orange wine? Wink connects you to a world of exclusive wines tailored to your taste and delivered directly to your door. Wink delivers 4 bottles of wine to you every month with free shipping. You can pick your own bottles or let Wink choose and match to your taste. It doesn't cost a thing to become a member, and you can skip or cancel anytime. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can enjoy an exclusive discount of $20 off your first order. To place your first order with $20 off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us/wink. That's cspn.us/WINC. Wink Wines through CSPN. Do it today. And now we get into the news.
Batwing 97 says Stingray is clearly D. You mean D worst?
Oh no.
It's like Silver Sorceress or Jack Flag. I mean, I said what I said. Love you though. It's all right. All right. Cinematic news as we do about this time. In news that's I guess probably shouldn't be any surprise to anyone at this point, but or at least partially. Black Panther rumor hints that Marvel won't recast T'Challa, but his son. And I feel like we said when that movie, when Wakanda Forever came out, was like, yeah, they are clearly going to age that kid up or something. And according to this is again rumor, so you got to take it for what it is. Some industry scooper, according to this thing, says Marvel Studios is planning to bring the older version of T'Challa's son into future Black Panther and Avengers movies. However, there's no official confirmation regarding this rumor yet. Again, like I said, when that movie came out, I feel like it sounded like something they were going to do. So I wouldn't be surprised if that is the actual thing that they do, because then they won't have to recast T'Challa. They will technically still have them, but also it's his son. It's weird. Anyway, next up.
Next up, Stranger Things' Sadie Sink is reportedly being eyed for Jean Grey in Marvel's X-Men as Kevin Feige looks to introduce a new iteration of the X-Men. So this is according to a report from apparently a trusted industry insider. Stranger Things is approaching its final season. Finally, these kids are mad old for whatever age is supposed to be in the show. So I had to Google this just now. Sadie Sink is 22 years old, so she is ready for a young version of the X-Men.
I suppose. I guess I guess if that's how they're gonna play the X-Men coming into it, that would make some sense. So, next up though, from Skeleton Crew. Spoiler alerts if you have not watched. I don't know why I went away from the mic. The end of Skeleton Crew, but Yasmine Al Massri shares her first look at her Jedi character that did make the cuts. So apparently there was a flashback scene for the finale, which makes a whole lot of sense given some information that we got in that last last episode. I'm gonna do that. But it apparently was filmed, but they didn't use it. So, and it will probably make sense a little bit more when I say that Al Massri is a Palestinian-born actress who has appeared in the likeness of Caramel, Quantico, and The Stranger's Case. But again, it had revealed that she had filmed at least one scene for Skeleton Crew, but it didn't happen. And as one would suspect, she is playing someone close to one of the characters. Again, if you haven't, that's a spoiler, but not really a spoiler. It's a spoiler if you haven't watched it, but it's a spoiler because you don't know what I'm talking about. Or not a spoiler, yes. So, and that was the thing we were kind of wondering if we were talking about. It was like, yeah, that was some information that we didn't necessarily get. That felt like it was kind of missing, but it wasn't probably necessary either. Like the pieces could have been easily put together, but it would have been nice to see. So, but anyway, there's that. Next up.
A big new Star Wars rumor has surfaced, and it involves the possible return of Natalie Portman as Padme Amidala in Ahsoka Season 2. So according to insider Christian Harloff on his podcast, Dave Filoni, the series showrunner, is reportedly making a strong push to bring Natalie Portman back into the galaxy far, far away. So you know what? Why not?
Sure. What else they could do? I mean, hey, look, it's Filoni, so I figure like it'll still be some interest at the very least. Sure. But also, the only way I'm thinking of Natalie Portman at this point is that SNL skit she did with Andy Samberg, where she was rapping. I don't know why. Right. Superman director James Gunn confirms, quote unquote confirms, I'm just going to put that out there, that DC Studios is working on Elseworlds opening for non-DCU projects. To this article. Yeah, when DC Studios' DCU plans were first revealed, it was confirmed that James Gunn and Peter Safran would release both movies, TV shows, and video games set in the same world and Elseworlds projects. But as this article says, we haven't seen any Elseworlds things, which can be used to differentiate those reality projects, alternate reality projects from the main DCU. But according, again, and here's where I said reportedly, responding to a fan on social media, the DC Studios co-CEO and Superman director explained, all DC television, you gotta love when they do that. All DC television and film projects are now under DC Studios. because Harley Quinn was developed long before us, we didn't think it was fair to put the DC Studios fanfare on there. On Penguin, which we had a small hand in developing, we had a different DC Studios anim at the end. Jen Gunn continued, we're currently working on the DC Studios Elsewhere's opening. So there you go. Next up.
All right, so apparently, I don't have this verified, but apparently, 40 years ago today, as of the date of this recording, a certain TV show arrived on network television around the country. And a certain theme song first hit the air. And that is...
Yes, and I can't confirm because I looked it up before I put that in there. So yes, on this day 40 years ago, Thundercats were loosed.
Goodness gracious, man.
It's crazy to think about. And yes, and Murtaugh said the exact thing. Matt Wang 97. We're going to talk. We'll get to that next week. Don't you worry, sir. But Matt Wang 97 says Gotham by Gaslight. We're talking going back to the DC Elsewhere. They're probably going to do that. Didn't they already do that though?
I'm pretty sure they did. They'll probably redo it.
Yeah. I because one day there was an animated film on that one in the last couple of years, but I don't know. Matt Wang also says, "Whoa." Probably talk about the Thundercats thing, and he mentioned the Silverhawks, which the book for Silverhawks comes out next week, so we will be talking about it if we get a copy of it. Hopefully, I think we will though. Hopefully, because that is going to be the most curious thing I could. Silverhawks was 86. That sounds right. Yeah, that sounds right. Because Thundercats, I keep doing that, was 84. Oh, wait, now you got me looking at this. September 8th, 1986 was Silverhawks. Yes. So we're not there for that one yet. But yeah. January 23rd, 1985. Excuse me, I was a year off for Thundercats. So, which that would make more sense to me saying 84 because I'm thinking Transformers.
Right.
But yeah, we're some old fuckers. Next up, Invincible season 3 episode schedule has been revealed. We will definitely be talking about those when they drop. Episodes will start releasing, weirdly enough, during Black History Month. February 6th, February 13th, 20th, 27th, and March 6th. And the finale will air on March 13th, according to this article. So look forward to us talking about that. Wait, is it going to be some special? Oh, wait. So so there's going to be 8 episodes, and the first 3. There we go. This is what I was looking for. The first 3 episodes are going to be released on February 6th. So there we go. And then the rest of them are going to come out weekly because that is the thing Amazon and other places have been doing. If you're watching the video version, you can also see the schedule right there in the poster. So look forward to that. Next up.
Wow. So I did not realize this when I watched the season premiere of Severance season 2 over on Apple TV Plus. The first episode of Severance season 2 is now streaming on Apple TV Plus. While the show returned most of its star-studded cast, it also brought in another legend by way of a voice acting cameo, Keanu Reeves. We all know, I don't have to go through his credits like this article does, but he voices the building of in the Lumen is Listening video. So, I'm not going to get into the context here, but I knew his voice sounded familiar. This character, this voiceover sounded familiar. It didn't strike me that it was Keanu Reeves. I'm going to have to go back, and as soon as I hear it, I'm going to recognize it. That's just how it works. So, And episode 2 is going to drop later today, now that we've crossed over into Friday officially. So, looking forward to watching that. And, that's pretty cool that they got Keanu to do a guest appearance voiceover on Severance.
Yeah. If you're watching the video version, you can see the picture of him that I have up, which is not from John Wick or any other movies. In fact, is from, I'm trying to remember the name of the movie, which is, I'm drawing a blank, and it's bothering me right now. Uh, he actually, well, spoiler. Actually, let me not, because I'm not gonna. Tai Chi, yes, Tai Chi, Man of Tai Chi. That was the movie. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, he directed that movie as well, actually, which wasn't bad, and he did play a little part in it. That was an actually a not bad movie, for what it was. So, that being said, Von Gloom. Sorry, that was Von Gloom that said the Silver Stalkers was 86 and not Matt Wang. But Matt Wang, I mean, excuse me, Von Gloom also said Centurions was 86 and Tiger Sharks was 87 because you keep bringing up Tiger Shark for some reason.
My goodness.
Also, Power Extreme. There's probably going to be a Centurions book at some point, because definitely, given the news that we got later on, Goonies 2 is in development. I don't know if this was yours or not, but whatever. I just took it.
It's all right, sure.
Okay, Goonies 2 is in development with original writer returning. So apparently, after many years of rumors and false starts, the Goonies' long-awaited sequel may finally be on a positive development track. Let's see, who was the writer? Was it Christopher Columbus? Yeah. As Deadline reported on the shifting strategies of Warner Brothers for the 2025 calendar, the outlet reported that the studio seeks to fall back once more on several proven franchises alongside its filmmaker-driven projects. One such project was a new Goonies sequel with Chris Columbus set to return and pen a treatment, having written the screenplay for the 1985 movie, which I did not know that, actually. And given a couple other movies that he's been involved with, I guess that kind of makes sense. So Columbus has previously been reported to have been a part of discussions with Donner, executive producer and fellow writer Steven Spielberg, you may have heard of him, and Lauren Schuller Donner to develop a sequel, as revealed during a reunion event in 2025. So therein lies that. And yes, Von Gloom says Goonies sequel decades later. It's not like they didn't do the same thing to Tron.
Right.
Is Chunk still alive? I don't know. That would be an interesting question. I mean, there's no reason to believe that they would use the original cast unless they're using them as like the parents of the new Goonies or something.
Oh, yeah, I think Chunk is still alive. I think he's a lawyer.
Really?
I think.
Oh, that's funny. Well, if you plan on looking into that, you can let me know. But we can go into the next.
He Hui Kwan stayed in contact because they were the ones that were kind of, that didn't see much of Hollywood after the 80s.
That's cool. That is cool. We're going to get into the anime corner next.
Alrighty, anime corner. We're talking about some live action. Whatchamacallit? Some live action adaptations. Let's see here. All right. Series gets an exciting production update from its official publisher. So this was confirmed by the Webtoons official publisher on January 21st, 2025. They confirmed that the live-action adaptation of Solo Leveling is still in development, despite having not received any further updates since its previous reveal announcement in October 2023. The series is currently in the planning and development phase. Kakao Entertainment's media division will be handling the script. Okay.
Kakao. What's that?
Yeah.
Oh, anyway.
It's been a while, but it's still in the works. What is it? I'm not a video gamer, even though I just recently updated my video game console. What is it like? We're gonna get this before Grand Theft Auto 6.
I mean, considering that's supposedly on track for the end of this year, that's still valid. Yes.
Right. I've heard that joke before.
Yes, that
you
joke,
listen to
yeah.
enough like pop culture podcasts, you'll hear that joke made.
Yeah, anytime there's a new GTA, that joke pops up. So yeah, valid. Next up though, of course, Matt Wayne knows the cacao guy. That's why, as he says in the chat, of course he does.
Yeah.
Of course. Von Gloom says One Piece with the Fluke live action adaptations suck. I mean, I'll take your word for one of those. The live action adaptation, yeah, pretty much mostly do. That's funny. I'm sure you can see what Matt just asked in unit chats.
Oh, jeez. I never had a GameCube. That's funny.
All right. Mobile Suit Gundam, and I believe this is called G-Quacks. I believe, as Von Gloom might have mentioned, beginning gets a North American theatrical release date, and that date is February something, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, February 28th. So G-Kids has acquired the North American rights to Mobile Suit Gundam G-Quacks beginning. The first ever collaboration between Studio Kara, the studio behind Evangelion series, and Sunrise, the home of Mobile Suit Gundam, which we have talked about in the past. So yeah, there's some other Gundam stuff I need to catch up on, and I still want to get that card game, and I plan to, but that's a whole nother situation outside of anything. The Japanese version of the is running right now, or has run, I guess, recently. And in Japan. So Von Gloom asks, when will the series start? I mean, if they're doing a movie on it probably won't be too much longer after that. And I don't think this article actually says when the series is actually going to start. It does not. Yeah. So, well, I'm sure we'll get that news soon. Next up, though,
Marvel has announced they are bringing Spider-Man into a whole new kind of manga world with the original new series, Spider-Man manga Shadow Warrior, now in the works for a launch later this fall. So Shadow Warrior is a brand new original manga story that sees Spider-Man, Miles Morales, and Spider-Gwen travel back to feudal Japan in order to stop Kingpin, who has mysteriously taken control. But upon getting there, a new surprising host bonds with the Venom symbiote to become a whole new kind of Venom. So let's see here. This is going to be written and illustrated by Shogo Aoki. And it will be making its debut on shelves beginning on September 16th this year.
Which you mentioned the name Aoki, and that just reminded me that the Dead or Alive movie came on recently with Devin Aoki, who I believe was also in one of the Fast and Furious movies.
Right, she was, and she's also related to the DJ guy, Steve Aoki. Is it Steve Aoki?
Yes.
Right, they're also descendants of the whatchamacallit, the Hibachi guy. Say again?
No, I didn't say anything. What'd you say? You do. What?
No, they're part of that whatchamacallit. Whatchamacallit. It's not a restaurant I've ever eaten at, but that's how that came up.
Gotcha.
Hold on.
Von Gloom asks, what drugs were involved in the creation of that story? It's a manga, sir. You know they do heavy stuff over there.
Yeah, seriously.
Matt Wang asks, is it better than the Street Fighter 2 movie? Depends on which one you're talking about. I'm going to say, first of all, no, because any of those video games, So here's the thing: I would if we had a Discord, I was going to set up where we could just watch a lot of those movies, but they're not video game. I mean, they're video game adaptations of uh, excuse me, they're live action adaptations of video games and not comic books, so it would be slightly outside of the purview. But some of them are very very bad. DOA is amusing, but still bad.
Right. Right.
If,
I also wanted to know, thank you, Von Gloom. I did see this. I just was waiting to interject next opportunity that the founder of the restaurant chain Benihana is their father.
Gotcha. Oh, I did not know that. Interesting. Oh wait, Street Fighter 2 movie. You're talking about the one with Raul Julia, I'm assuming. I mean, that's also a bad movie, but it's amusing in its own right. So I would definitely say that the DOA movie is worse than the true Street Fighter 2 movie, but not saying much because both of them are bad. Both of those are terrible movies. The Tekken movie also terrible. I would argue that the Tekken movie is probably worse than both of them. By the by. But that's again a whole nother situation. Like I said, I really want to have a movie night with some of that stuff. But like I said, that's slightly outside the purview of this thing here. But also I'm trying to remember, there was that other Spider-Man manga, the Getting Back on Track, that I have a copy of that I still haven't read yet, but that's a whole nother situation. Rocky Aoki created Benihana. Agent 70 is banned from several of them.
I've never been to Benihana. That's so funny.
Everything created by Uwe Boll is trash. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's all that needs to be said. And I'm trying to remember if that DOA movie was a Uwe Boll joint. Probably was. Anyway, let us continue with the comic book news. The G.I. Joe reboot is remaking popular comic storyline. So it sounds like they're doing basically a month of Silent Interlude type issues.
What?
Yes.
No kidding.
It's called the G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero Silent Missions One-Shots, which will feature the work of talented creators, including Phil Hester, Danny, Dan Waters, Leonardo Romero, Andrew Cronky, and Wes Craig. To celebrate the Silent Missions month, Skybound will release the Silent Missions edition of Silent Interlude, which I thought we already had one out already. I feel like didn't they bring one out like last year for, I guess, the anniversary or something. But anyway, Silent Missions editions of the Silent Interlude, G.I. Joe Real American Heroes number 21, which includes a new letter from Larry Hama on April 2nd. The publisher's description reads, "One of the most important comic books ever returns. Experienced a groundbreaking Silent Interlude from writer-artist Larry Hama. This legendary issue features a Snake Eyes solo mission, first appearance of the Star Traveler." You know the one, folks. And a few full-length action-packed story with no dialogue, end quote. So yeah, I mean, most folks know about Silent Interlude if you are in enough of the know. And again, I could have sworn this was reprinted fairly recently, like within the last year or two. But now
probably within the last 2 years. I think it's within the last 2 years. Let's not. It's not as recent as you think. I'm willing to wager that.
Maybe, but I don't know.
It seems like it because we read so much. But at the end of the day, I get a kick out of the idea that they're going to do Silent Interlude type stories with other G.I. Joe characters, and yet we are still holding off on introducing the original character behind the Silent Interlude story.
So Von Gloom mentions that. He was like, but without Snake Eyes? I'm like, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
We got the toys we got right now, so, maybe that'll be the introduction.
They're doing their darndest to try to establish all the other characters. I think that's the purpose behind their current strategy with the introduction of characters in the Image Skybound G.I. Joe universe. I don't want to keep calling it the IDW one.
I'm thinking maybe it was an IDW before they lost the license the way they did that. I'm wondering. I feel like that's something that might have happened. But regardless,
Pretty sure. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure.
Vine.
Uh,
What's that? Sorry.
No, I'm pretty sure it was at IDW before.
Right. Yeah. Oh no. Yeah, I know that, but I'm just saying whether they remade the Silent Interlude issue, because I feel like we talked about
They
it.
did. They did. They did.
Yeah.
But it's more. It's recent, but it's less recent than you think.
Yeah,
I think it's more than 2 years before.
Yeah.
But more than 2 years ago, that is.
Yeah, I guess. Wes Craig from Deadly Class. I guess I'm not entirely sure who that is, so that would have to be something to look up. But next up, some big news from this week. For some, anyway.
Oh, is it my turn? Hold
Yeah.
on. Okay. Captain Planet #1 by David Pepose and Eman Casallos from Dynamite Comics. Oh my God. So a new comic book, Captain Planet #1, he's a hero, going to take pollution down to zero.
Mm-hmm.
By the aforementioned creative team, launches from Dynamite Comics in April 2025. Wow.
Yeah, this was announced. Okay, Matt. This was announced on. Well, this was mentioned on social media in the last couple of days. I was like, okay, cool. So David Pepose, also the writer of Space Ghost, which came out last week, which you didn't get a chance to read, has Captain Planet under his belt. So, of course, the first issue, I can't remember if you said this or not, will be released on Earth Day.
Oh, I did not say that.
Yeah,
I had the dates. I had the date in it, but I did not realize that was also Earth Day.
Yeah. So, Matt Wang asks, "Can you do a silent interlude of the podcast?" Yes, we can. Do you really want that?
We can. That was interesting, but only for like the first 2 minutes.
Right. If we knew sign language though, but that still only works if for the video version. So
Right.
So that doesn't necessarily good for the main medium there. But good hustle there. Someone called Don Cheeto, which yes, I knew if anybody was going to remember that, it was going to be Vine Gloom, where he did the was that a Funny or Die thing or something, where he was playing Captain Planet.
Oh, is that what it was from? I don't remember.
I believe that was the case. I can't remember, but that was a while ago. It comes up every now and then and turns evil doers into trees. So yeah, folks, there we go. Captain Planet, as you can see, he's got a beard now, so I guess he's, edgy. I don't know. Oh wait, here's some. Here is what the kids are gonna look like. Here, let's see if I can. There we go. So everybody's represented. They just got updates. Guy has been lightened up a little bit, but we're not going to talk about that.
Oh no.
But obviously, but looks a little, well, I don't know. Let me hush. And then of course there's some unlettered pages from the book if you check that out. But you can check that out from the first issue. Excuse me. You can check that out, in the show notes. Von Gloom says it means he's pulling the ladies. Yep, that's pretty much. And also, Matt Wang mentioned something that I thought about from Star Trek. Reading it, and if Captain Planet has a beard, does that mean he's evil now?
Oh, that's right.
Maybe he's going to be the one causing pollution. So Trent Reznor is an evil tree. I mean, wasn't he always? Let's be honest. It makes so much sense. He's an evil Groot. Anyway, next up though, Power Rangers reboot has a big sales streak. This is about that Power Rangers Prime book that's come out fairly recently. Apparently, that's doing some numbers. I think 2 came out this week actually. Second issue, yes. The second issue also received a second printing, which will go on sale. That was this week. Maybe the second issue didn't come out. I can't remember. I thought I saw something about the second issue coming out this week as well, but I don't know. All right, Matt. Boo. Matt says, sorry, I misspelled that. I meant tree ants.
Oh yeah.
Which y'all know that's my favorite fantasy thing, so I can't be mad at that, but I can be. Anyway, apparently Power Rangers Prime #3 is selling out at the distributor level. Boom Studios has announced a second printing for that, and the book isn't even out yet. The new printing will hit stores February 19th. And looks like that is the variant cover for that second printing. So there you go. I still have not read any of that book yet. Next up.
All right, next up we have a preview of Archie is Mr. Justice #204. It's published by Archie Comics. So this is Archie as in the guise of a superhero, Mr. Justice. Yes. And this is coming out on sale this week.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I meant to read the first issue, which came out a couple of weeks ago. And again, as folks may or may not know, this is not Archie's first foray as a superhero. I guess this is just a more modern than Pure Heart the Pure, whatever his name was. Yeah. So this, I guess, is a more realer take than that one was. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll have a chance to check these out at some point. DC reveals details on its Summer of Superman publishing initiative. I think I found this out by way of G. Willow Wilson, actually. So Dan Slott joins Joshua Williamson, Mark Waid, and Jorge Jimenez for DC's Summer of Superman Special #1. Lex Luthor returns in the oversized Superman 25. There is a Superman the World thing. Let's see. Superman's Good Guy game launches DC's new line of graphic novels for early readers. And there's a can't miss selection of Superman's greatest hits for Superman Day, which is April 18th, at participating retailers and, of course, on the DC Universe Infinite. So let's see. Yeah, that's pretty much that. And this basically runs down pretty much everything I just mentioned, all the titles that I just mentioned. But not including Action Comics 1085, which is April 9th, which concludes Superman Superstars, and is going to be written by G. Willow Wilson, which is why she would be a part of that. If you can check out the rest of that, the rest of the things going on around that in the show notes, in the article in the show notes. Next up.
So the 9-issue event series, One World Under Doom, is going to be written by Ryan North, and it's also going to feature covers of the Doomosaur or Tyrannosaurus Rex that was featured in 2023's Fantastic Four #12. We actually covered that on our show. And,
yes.
You're going to get Doom variant covers on issues of Amazing Spider-Man, Avengers, X-Men, and more monthly titles in the lead up to One World Under Doom. The Doomosaur variants will spotlight Dinosaur Doom on all 9 issues of the core title by North and artist R.B. Silva. So yeah, we're going to get a lot more Doomosaur, and it's such a great visual. Yes. That's just, you can't deny that it's a great visual. So no reason to, there's plenty of reason to feature art of Doomosaur on all of these covers.
Okay, but if you're watching the video version, you can see this, but that first variant cover is crazy because one, it looks like an album cover, but also neither Doom would be in this position. would hold this position. Like, but that's some funny shit. That's some real funny shit, though. I see, and there's another one there, and of course there's that. I'm just going through all of the variant covers of Doomosaurus. Yeah, like you said, at some point there was no reason for them not to do it, and I'm kind of glad this is happening because we were kind of raving about it when that issue, Fantastic Four issue happened. So that was pretty cool. And so, yeah, let me just go ahead and scroll through the rest of these variant covers right there. But you can check them out in the show notes for yourself. Matt Wayne says, no Electric Superman? No. I think they're divorcing themselves from that forever, probably.
Probably.
I don't know, but hey, And
I swear,
Von
if Gunn brings back Electric Superman in the movies, you know that's gonna get some play in the comics.
yeah, and I feel like that's probably something Gunn would do.
Yeah, yeah.
So wouldn't be surprised. And Von Gloom says, so
And Blue Electric Superman.
right. So he will turn people into going back to the other story. He will turn people into trees since he's evil. Talking about evil Trent Reznor or Tree Ant Reznor. Boom, boom. Anyway, next up, Uncanny X-Men writer Chris Claremont returns to Marvel for a new Wolverine and Kitty Pryde comic book series, as he is wont to do recently. It is going to be a 5-issue limited series set in the aftermath of Claremont and Al Milgram's classic 80s comic book run. Again, one of these newfound previously unknown stories that is probably, as Agent 70 mentioned earlier, filling in gaps
Right.
of some things. But as Claremont is wont to do, leave gaps in stories for whatever remember and understand. So,
right.
Yeah. Let's see. Teaming up with writing star Damian Cusero, from X-Men Unlimited. Claremont will further reveal Wolverine and Kitty's adventures in Japan, following their beloved 84-85 team-up series Kitty Pryde and Wolverine. The saga pits the pair against all new villains, while they forge the incredible bond that redefined them as characters, I guess. The series will also feature covers delivered by another legendary X-Men talent, according to this article, Alan Davis. And then it just goes into the story of the original miniseries. So there you go. Wait, do we have a date for when we're going to get them? April 30th looks like when the first issue happens. And you saw me scrolling through all of the variant covers. Next up,
I'm going to skip this story because I talked about X-Men Xavier Secret #1.
Yeah, I should have taken that out of there.
It's all right. So next up, Godzilla vs. Spider-Man #1 swings into stores April 30th. So this is part of the celebration of Godzilla's anniversary, and especially Godzilla's anniversary, overall anniversary. And now we're getting the license in Marvel Comics to cross Godzilla over with the Marvel characters. We had Godzilla with the DC characters, at least the legendary version of Godzilla. Now we're getting Godzilla in Marvel, and it's kind of fun.
And this made me go to check my email, which is funnily I did, because I wanted to see when my pre-order for Godzilla -1, which I hadn't heard anything about, was coming. And sure enough, as of a couple of hours ago, I just got an email from them. March 25th, I guess they upped the date for that 2-disc set that we talked about a couple of weeks ago.
Nice. Just to give you all the details, or at least as far as we know, this is going to be... Oh, no, it doesn't have the price. It's just April 30th. Right. That's when this issue comes out.
Greg Land cover.
Hey.
Variant cover. So.
Yeah.
Next up,
get the normal cover, folks. That's what I'd say.
The Fantastic Four becomes the Fantastic Two this April as Dr. Doom steals another member's powers. So we talked about one of the members losing their powers for reasons that we sure was not surprising. And I guess it won't be a surprise who loses their powers next. So this is for Fantastic. It says Fantastic Four 2, but Fantastic Four #31, which is written by Ryan North, who is also writing the main One World Under Doom event title. If you did not know that, with art by Corey Smith and covered by Joshua Cassara, as you can see in this video version. There is that. So yeah, I guess it doesn't necessarily say who it is, but it basically kind of gives you the solicitation for what that issue is going to be about, which we won't go into here. Next up, Corner.
Yeah, Sport Corner. Last week, Hasbro had its live stream and they introduced the next wave of Marvel Legends that are going to go up for pre-order early in February, and this is a big wave. This is a big announcement. So, this is done over on Hasbro Pulse, and check this out, folks. So, they announced a wave of quote mini comics figures and included a bunch of other characters to boot. So the mini comics figures include get a load of this. We get a full preview of what their Marvel Legend of Rom the Space Knight looks like, and it's incredible. I can't wait to plop down the pre-order for this. You're also going to get an Infinity Gauntlet era Adam Warlock. You're going to get a version of Daken, aka Dark Wolverine, as he's portrayed in Dark Avengers period. The whole Norman Osborn period, and you're also getting a redo of an Ultimate Miles Morales. It's going to be pinless. It's going to be very posable. We're also getting an Ultimate Iron Man. Listen, for the completists out there, you definitely want to get that. I don't necessarily need it, but that's cool. I will need the green and yellow costume Banshee that they're putting out. He comes with the little mini giant-size X-Men, but I don't care about that. I just want to get the Banshee figure. They're also releasing Target exclusive X Factor Jean Grey in the green and yellow, minus the yellow boots, which is silly. And they're also doing Spider-Man No Way Home Electro, so you get a redone Jamie Foxx as Electro. But one of the big things, kind of controversial, out of this release wave or release announcement is that they're starting a new wave or new line of figures called the Maximum Series. So it's more of like a deluxe version, and their kickoff figure for this wave is Spider-Man, and he's coming with a lot of accessories and lots of things to make him cool to pose. And there's still some question as to how much they're going to charge for this character in this type of wave. And this is based most certainly on the McFarlane version of the design of the character. So he's going to be very posable, and he's got lots of spaghetti webbing. And there's some talk on social media and whatnot that this might be upwards of $50 a figure, and that seems a little high for me. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think I highballed it a little bit too much when we were talking earlier in the show, but I still wouldn't put it past them for that price.
I wouldn't either. I think it's within the range. I think it's within the realm of possibility.
Yeah. But yeah, some good looking figures though. As he was talking about them, I was scrolling through for people watching the video version, which you should sometime.
Listen, I can't wait to pre-order that ROM Space Knight. I'm jumping for joy when that hits my doorstep.
Yeah, Agent 70 was the one who brought this article to my attention with that in mind, which was like, yeah, was no surprise there as to how giddy he got about that. Marvel Legends Avengers 60th Anniversary Thor and Destroyer 2-pack is back on sale at Amazon. It's down to $48. Yes, $48 for a limited time. But then again, that $48 that was for no, it's still, well, this one says $50, but that's fine. It's still, yeah. I was about to say Amazon is a sponsor, but we're probably not getting much off of that either way. But hey, go for it. So yeah, original price is $60. It's down to $50. If you're looking for those figures together, there you go. Next up.
All right. Just give me a moment. Let's see. So a new Marvel Comics statue arrives from McFarlane with Daredevil number 600. So you can celebrate Daredevil number 600 with McFarlane's 1:10 scale statue, capturing the essence of the iconic cover. That's actually pretty cool.
Yep.
That's a good rendition of Daredevil.
Yep, so a little bit of a close-up there for the video version. Yeah, cool. It's a statue though, but it's there.
Right. It's a cool rendition because if I'm not mistaken, this is Is it a Ron Garney illustration?
It's oh,
It's a Casada.
yeah.
It's a Casada cover. I want to say it's a Casada cover. Yeah, it's a Casada cover.
Okay. And there you go. $30. Pre-orders up now if you're interested in that. And now, folks, the Captain America Brave New World popcorn bucket will let you dig for your snacks in Red Hulk's back. So this is one of the other popcorn buckets for this movie that has presented itself. And by the way, folks, if we hadn't said it before, and actually I don't think we did, tickets for Captain America Brave New World are on sale. Might as well go ahead and say we will be going on Movie Protocol when that happens on February 14th.
Yes, I can confirm that, at least on my end, because I just confirmed tickets for it.
Yes. So on Valentine's Day, you can go see Captain America Brave New World. That makes sense. But yes, Regal Studios has a bucket. Actually, this article has a couple of different buckets from the different, because depending on what movie theater chain you go to, they're going to have a different thing. So Regal's got this bucket with, I guess, with Red Hulk's torso around it. I don't know what's going on with that. There's also, if you're watching the video version, you can see the shield, which is a platter for the bucket. And also the one that I saw, which is another popcorn bucket that looks like a tin with Sam's shield. I mean, Sam's wings in the back of it. So, and also there's other merchandise like glasses and I believe that one, the shield with the glasses has a cup holder or something with it. If from what I saw is right. So yeah, there's no shortage of merch for this movie and for your popcorn bucket folks, which I guess I could be one of whatever, but I still don't plan on getting any of these. So, and I still don't know what the Red Hulk First Fist one is, because apparently that one wasn't an actual thing. Okay, no, we're not gonna do that. Sorry, that was a video that ended up playing because of that thing. Next up, though.
All right, Hasbro debuts new Transformers Top Spin versus Spinister 2-pack for 2025. Let's see here. So this is an Amazon exclusive set, priced at $54.99, releasing in August 2025 with pre-orders available now.
I feel like I had Top Spin, but except for the Autobot version of it, which was like Brainstorm or whatever the case may be, and I believe it was a Headmaster, of which this is not.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't. So apparently this is a new Transformers collection, also. So,
right. I wanted to call it Spinster.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame you. I wouldn't blame you because it's only that one letter that's off. So yeah, so it says here. Oh, okay. And I was just watching that whole Headmaster's Target Master thing. Actually, Spencer will feature his Target Master partners with Hair Splitter and Singe. They're Amazon exclusive, $54.99, August, all of that good jazz. Speaking of more Transformers, I feel like we may have covered this before, so I apologize if we did. But there is going to be a crossover with Transformers and Macross, because the one that we already had wasn't enough. If you know what know what I mean. But let's see. It says here Macross recently arrived on Hulu. We talked about that. Apparently the crossover figure's name is, if I'm reading this right, it's called Basara Prime, which just makes me think of Basura. And that would be funny. But, and again, I guess that is a mix of Transformers and Macross 7, of which I've never seen, so go for that. Yeah, next up.
All right, guess what? Transformers Beast Wars Rat Trap figure is now up for pre-order. All righty, let's see here. Oh my God! Transformers Masterpiece MPG-15 Beast Wars Rat Trap, $104.99.
Yeah, Masterpiece joints are expensive.
Right. Hot damn.
Yeah, yeah, and they're also more articulated and all that kind of. So there's a more more pieces to transform, basically.
Right.
Outside of that younger line. Yeah, I did not know. Actually, I obviously I pulled this for reasons, and I did not know it was a masterpiece because I didn't actually read the article. I did not know it was a masterpiece Transformers. I do like Rat Trap, not that much.
Right.
But yeah, if it ever comes on sale, who knows? But anyway, next up, new. Oh, right, this thing. New U.S. Transformers collection goes retro with 40-year-old toy and concept art ideas. So we got some Funkos, Pops. There's Cyclonus, Hot Rod, and Omega Supreme if you're watching the video version. And more Funkos. Yay.
All those.
Yeah, I almost would have been one of those people. But I knew my limit. I knew my Funko limit, and it has passed. Although, wait, do I have any Funko Transformers? I don't know. I'm not going to look even. So, yeah, I don't know. Either way, next up.
All right. Following the launch of their popular Masters of the Universe Origins Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles of Grayskull crossover lineup, Mattel had already teased that a ThunderCats collab was on the way for 2025 during San Diego Comic-Con last year. Now they've made good on the promise with the reveal of the first figures in the collection. And let's see, so we can have a wave of Motu mashup figures, Lion-O and Chitara, along with new characters like Skeletor and Mum-Ra, and a reinterpretation of Battlecat as a humanoid ThunderCats warrior. Wow, okay.
That one's actually kind of cool.
Right. Mattel has revised the launch date from April to June 2025. Okay. That's interesting. Look at that. Yeah, listen, seeing Battlecat as like a warrior, like a bipedal warrior is pretty wild.
Mm. And I was going to say that this will probably mark the coming of another, because they already had one, Masters of the Universe ThunderCats crossover comic book. Still could happen.
Makes sense.
But there was already one from a few years ago, so I wouldn't be surprised. I am not going to be surprised at all if it happens. Next up, though, Gundam Wing gets new 30th anniversary release with high-grade Gunpla model kit for the anime's biggest mecha. And I wish I was into Gunpla because I would probably get it. So this is for Wing Zero of Gundam Wing fame. It is called the HGAC 144 Wing Gundam Zero clear color version. Apparently it is not the version from Endless Waltz, so I guess that's good to know. It is a high grade kits, and so it's high grade after continuity. That's what those letters are for. The kit goes for. Oh, I thought this was going to be a little bit more expensive. 1,760 yen, or just under $12 US. It is releasing on January 25th, which so in a couple of days, well, actually tomorrow, excuse me, as of recording of this. So all you Gunpla fans, hey, go check that out if you're so inclined. Last but not least.
So apparently someone scanned all of the comics interview magazines and put them online. If you want to download everything, it is more than 13 gigs. And that's interesting because, that's never been like a priority of mine.
Right.
Because that was a little bit before my time. Mm-hmm. It's pre-Wizard, and it was pre me spending anything more than just money on comic books. Like I didn't have the understanding of the industry and the wherewithal to buy something like that. But I think that is worth, at least from a historical perspective, looking into and reading.
Agreed. Yeah, I don't think I ever read. I have feel like I've seen and heard of this book or that magazine, but I also never read it. So, I will probably try to peruse this archive, which is on archive.org, by the way. So there you go. All right, folks. that's it for the news section. Can we get one last ad read?
Our last ad read of the night. You know what we read when it's late and we're trying to wrap it up. Keep our podcast free by shopping at Amazon. Visit cspn.us and click the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down and click on the Amazon link to shop. Purchase items from Amazon as you normally would, whether it's books, music, electronics, jewelry, apparel, or Marvel Legends. For every purchase made on Amazon through our link, Amazon sends the CSPN payment that helps us keep the Comic Book Chronicles podcast free for our listeners at no extra cost to you. Amazon.com through CSPN.us. Do it today.
All right, folks, that is it for the night. Again, we have already said, movie protocol for next month, February 14th. So, grab your honeys.
Yes, February 13th. It'll be the night of February 13th.
Yes. Wait, your voice is going low for some reason.
Oh, sorry. Well, it'll be the night of February 13th.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. But still, but like I said, we will definitely mention that closer to the time, regardless of that. We will be back next week for another show with more goodies. The Hawks comes out next week, so I'm looking forward to checking that out and finally talk about it, especially knowing that Ed Brisson is writing it for some odd reason. Not because of the rest, but anyway, it doesn't matter. And whatever else comes out next week, within and all of that kind of good jazz. I have been Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter and Blue Sky. You can also find me at News Need on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram. Gotta get that Blue Sky in there. We're not, just gotta remember. Agent_70 on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, and of course Threads. You can find this here podcast on the Coastal Slither Podcast Network. That's ESPN.us.
Do it today.
You can also find us on your podcast perusal place of choice, whether it be Apple iTunes, like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Coastal Slither Podcast Network's SoundCloud page. And you can also find us recording every Thursday night, 9:30, mostly every Thursday night, 9:30 Eastern, on youtube.com/TheKliqNation and twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles.
Yes, please click like, subscribe, leave us all the positive 5-star reviews. Hit that notification button, especially on the live connection, so that when we're on live and you can join us like our friends online with us tonight.
Indeed. All right, folks. If you saw on twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles that I played some Marvel Heroes, one of my favorite games ever, we'll probably be playing some more of that. I know I have opted in some of the other stuff that I said I was going to do, but I had to play that because the game's so great. I love it. And we'll do it again, and I will do it again. So yeah, be sure to check that stuff out. But in the meantime, in between time, this has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Peace.
Peace. One.